Let's see. Give me 1 second here. Yeah. Hold on. Okay. All
But
right.
I think
Talk real quick.
StreamLabs
Talk real quick.
also won't record our voice.
No,
Nope.
no, it will. I
What?
think it's. Ah, well. Oh well. If anything, sorry about that, guys, for audio technical difficulties. Oops.
We got
Okay, yeah.
plenty of that
Continue
today.
now.
Oh man. Yeah, there's a lot of technical issues I had too because Streamlabs decided to say we're gonna update everything and then also fuck up everything. I'm like, God damn it.
Okay, so real quick before we continue,
Anyways,
then, hold on,
Yeah.
before we continue, so does that mean the recording didn't hear us? Is YouTube gonna hear any of this?
We'll see
Because
once I
if
edit
not,
the
we'll just
videos.
restart it.
Well, we'll see once.
We'll just start from the beginning.
Oh, oh. I mean, right now at least it's already like a 17 minutes back, and I'm trying to remember. Okay. Pretty
Just read the
much.
script.
I don't have a script. Oh man. But yes. Anyways, sorry about that, guys. To bring you back up to speed, if y'all didn't really hear the conversation piece, we're mostly talking about Baldur's Gate 3, the origins of it, which was in this case an old CRPG, which means computer RPG game. And it's garnered a lot of attention due to the fact that it's very popular. It's been outselling a lot of AAA games too. And the thing is, the game itself should be considered a AAA title, but there's a whole narrative being pushed that it feels like Baldur's Gate 3 is like an indie title project when really it's made by, even in the industry, they call Larian Studios, the makers of the game, a AA studio versus a AAA studio like Activision, Blizzard, Ubisoft, and what else? EA. Am I missing
I
a
think that may be probably a lot. But no, I think I understand why they're called a double A company because they don't have the publishing recognition like EA, Activision, all of them.
Yeah. So there's that too. And so like I won't even get into like what makes like what gives them the nomenclature of like a double A or like triple A studios. If anything, it feels like at least like self-explanatory enough of like what they truly mean. But if anything, what the attention that Baldur's Gate 3 has is that a lot of developers are going out publicly to say that, hey, we don't expect this, or in this case, addressing it to the consumers or the players themselves that are buy games. Is like, hey, do not expect like any of our future games to be released to the same level of quality as Baldur's Gate 3. And we were going back and forth of like why shouldn't like customers not expect like quality games to come out from a studio. Like,
It really is interesting that even before their own games are released, they're already telling you that the quality is going to be like subpar in comparison to Baldur's Gate 3. And it's so
Yeah.
interesting that they're willing to go on record saying that. Like they're just willing to outright say, "Hey, our game is not going to stand up at any way to compare against Baldur's Gate 3, but we're still going to go with it. You're just going to have to deal with it."
Yeah, we
Yeah.
can't make a game. We can't make a good game as a AAA company, bro. We
Yeah,
can't make a good game as this double A studio, whatever.
like,
I don't know, man. That's stupid.
yeah. Yeah, and like depending on like for anyone that also is listening in on the chat too, everyone has their own way of like how they want to purchase their own money with it too, or what they use to buy games with their money as well. It's just that right now a lot of the player bases right now they are shifting away from like these studios or like these developers that release these games in favor of like other studios that in this case would release at least to them like actually feature completed games. Example A, Elden Ring. Like, holy shit. There was so much backlash from the AAA studios that did not like Elden Ring. Such as the fact that A, it garnered so much attention for it too that I believe it stole like the attention away from like I believe it was Call of Duty games and then other action titles. I forgot what else released the same time as Elden Ring. Someone fact check me real quick. When did Elden Ring get released?
Fine, we get the idea.
Mm-hmm. So it was essentially that another like ways that they were arguing too is the fact that you shouldn't be saying that how the Elden Ring get Game of the Year. The graphics aren't even that good. And I'm like, I mean, in some ways, dude, they are technically correct too. Like pixel by pixel wise, Elden Ring is not as impressive. But the reason why people say it's beautiful is because of the fact that graphics versus artistic style. There's a key fundamental difference between of what makes games good looking. And I hate every time I hear the fact too that, oh, this graphics isn't good. I'm like, God damn it, I fucking hate these people.
Yeah, why is that the only argument? That's really bizarre. Like,
yeah,
graphics, good graphics don't make a fun game.
Yeah, and also
You can have
don't
the
even
most
say,
beautiful game that can be so boring, like
Yeah.
Call of Duty.
Yeah, it does nothing. It just
Yeah. And also, whoever says that Call of Duty has the best graphics, dude, bullshit. Every time I load up in Warzone 2, it's still rendering textures. What's going on?
that sounds like a personal problem.
Anyways, it's because I refuse to go lower settings. That's not on me. I can handle any other games fine. There's nothing wrong with my shit box.
Oh my god.
But it's very much like already interesting enough that there is a bunch of developers that are trying to like defend what it seems like complacency with where they're at with the studios. Like they don't want
Yeah,
to.
that's very bizarre. Like
Yeah.
that's very bizarre why they just don't want to make better games. It doesn't make sense to me.
Mhm.
I mean, I'm gonna be honest. Like people should stop. People should stop. I say people should stop. Like it's so easy, but they should stop buying games from AAA studios.
Yeah, because
Mhm.
Like it's literally the same thing over and over. Like
yeah,
nothing changes. Sure,
Yeah.
there's like improvements over the years, but it's just small improvements, not like anything major.
yeah.
So,
Like think of
I
all the
don't know,
sports
like-
game that gets released.
All sports games legit are the exact same. I hear that for example, NBA 2K23 or 24 that probably came out. It looks worse than the previous year's title, which makes no
Hey.
sense.
Hey, that's an improvement. It at least looks different.
So I guess there's like a few arguments. So I'm clear before I even begin. I'm very clearly on the side of the consumer. I believe that if we want better games, we have to expect better games, and we can't just continue to accept subpar games. But if I'm playing devil's advocate here, one, if the demand for the cookie cutter games wasn't so high, then it wouldn't be so frequent. Like we wouldn't have 17 Call
I
of
agree.
Duties, and we
Oh,
wouldn't
yeah.
I
have
agree. No,
a million
I completely
FIFAs.
agree.
And also, to the like dev side of it, maybe it's like maybe they know they can't release a game of that quality just because of certain like restrictions, regulations that are within the company that large, you know, the bottom lines and such. Maybe there's a lot of like restrictions we don't know. I don't know if anyone's ever
course,
come forward and
course.
said something if that's why they restricted it. I don't know if anyone would ever
But
come
why-
out and say that.
They should, because
But that's
then
what I'm saying.
you're making yourself look bad by trashing in another game studio for making a completed game.
Mhm.
I mean, a lot of these AAA companies are publicly traded on the stock market, which means they have to essentially announce all of their finances and
Earnings.
things like that, and earnings. Yeah.
Mhm.
So we're gonna know as investors and I guess shareholders in general. I mean, we're gonna know how much they're gonna make and how much they don't, what their moneymaker is, and what they're losing money from.
Mhm.
So they should just outright say it that it's
Yeah.
gonna cost a lot of money to make the same game that has the same level of quality as Baldur's Gate, Elden Ring, or any of these quote unquote completed games.
Mhm.
Mhm.
And the shareholders do not want it.
Yeah. Or
The
at
problem
least
is, yeah, it's true. Shareholders won't want it. They won't want it, and that's why they probably won't say it. But
Maybe
if they continue on this path, I mean, it's gonna have to happen where people slowly stop buying the games. eventually, and then that will start eating into their bottom lines a lot. I don't know. I still firmly believe that these AAA companies, they do have the resources to make a game like Baldur's Gate 3 and better. It's just they don't want to.
Yeah. And mind you, all of this also came through as well. Whenever an IGN piece came out, that's also something that you probably missed too. And in this case, we're more surprised that an IGN video, someone and a journalism from there actually made a really good video about like talking about this current state of the industry. How in this case, Baldur's Gate 3 is exceptionally well, or in this case, well received, and it's really good. And if anything, on the side of why can't like players at least expect like quality games come from AAA titles? Like usually, like when you think of that, you expect like the best type of quality to come out from it. And it's for us, we're more surprised too that Baldur's Gate 3 even succeeded, because when players actually look at the quality of the game, holy fuck, the game is actually way more content like packed inside of that for $50, and it can be played as a single player or co-op game. And there's so much that apparently that players can do in terms of freedom, like freedom of choice that you get to do. Such as the fact I could probably, and as characters, we could throw each other off the cliff or whatnot. Everything goes. And it's like a type of freedom too that hasn't been seen for quite some time for like a modern style quality game. And also the fact that every dialogue is essentially a cutscene.
That is a design choice.
Yeah.
Giving the player the ability to do anything they want. That's a design choice. You can't say that every game needs to give that ability.
Oh yeah, no, that's the other thing too. So like again, there's like a misunderstanding of like the narrative, like, oh, every game needs to be like exactly the way how Baldur's Gate 3 does it. It's like no. I think the real argument is the fact that we just want you to finish a game. Like as soon as it's released, dude, there's nothing missing about it. And even if there is a roadmap too, cool, abide by that shit too. But make sure that at least that whenever the game is released, that it's not like a buggy mess. However, Baldur's Gate 3 did have some bugs, but
it being a buggy mess is fine as long as it's not like game breaking.
Yeah. Which unfortunately for these AAA games, a lot of the bugs were game breaking.
Yeah.
So that's the other big issue that it had. So I don't know. I think like really we're in a weird state where like I think a lot of players are becoming more and more self-aware with the fact too that like we have like titles like Elden Ring and Baldur's Gate that actually can be made good games.
But let me say one thing. I think the biggest thing that a lot of these AAA companies have a problem with is the amount of time it takes to make these games.
Yeah.
I'm sure money isn't the real issue because they probably don't cost as much as you think. I think Baldur's Gate cost like $200 million to make or something.
Yeah, $200 million to make. I think it was
it was
7 years actually.
7 years?
Yeah.
7 years. 7 years is the issue. How long is Elden Ring being made?
Oh, that's a good question. When was it? Because like can look this up real quick with a good Google search. But yeah, Elden Ring was a fantastic like IP title from Soft as well. Hell, even I just looked up at Elden Ring briefly too. Like the rating from IGN is like 10 out of 10. All right, cool. That's about it. With undefined votes, meaning I think it's only that one person that voted 10 out of 10 and then they closed it because nothing more can be said.
Okay, so so Elden Ring, they're saying 4 years?
Really? Just 4 years? Holy shit.
Is that okay?
The game,
that quick Google search got me that, but I'm sure that it was. I don't know. It's not confirmed. They're not saying it's confirmed, but that's the first number I see.
Yeah. Let's see.
Either way, Baldur's Gate is confirmed. 6 years.
Yeah.
All right. So when you're a AAA company that has to release a cookie cutter game every single year, 6 years is not going to work.
Yeah. Or at least 6 years doesn't feel justifiable based on the fact that...
Granted, Call of Duty takes 3 years to make. And the only way they achieve this is have 3 different studios make Call of Duty.
Hmm. Now, is that something
So
that
it's not okay. So it's not impossible to make, but if they want to keep doing these cookie cutter type of games, they're gonna need a lot of people.
yeah, it's like a lot of people to make these games too. And this is something I've noticed too, at least with the game industries. Who here has like probably hasn't paid much attention to all the game releases too? Let's be honest, I think right now this year, it's a good year for gaming right now because there's so many good games that came out that are also not from AAA studios. But it's like we even got, like in this case from the Video Game Awards, some confirmation trailers of like more awesome games that are coming out, such as Hades 2. That shit is awesome. I even have the first Hades game. Amazing. But
I never played it.
all right, let me do a quick summary.
Yeah,
Hades is essentially a roguelike game or action roguelike game that takes place in the Greek pantheons. So in this case, your main character is Zagreus. In this version, Zagreus is the son of Hades. Henceforth, the title.
It did ring a bell for a minute, but it was an extremely popular game not too long ago.
Yeah.
Like, my God, I don't know why I didn't recognize that name. Everyone was going crazy for it whenever it came out.
Yeah.
People were streaming that like always.
Yeah, and then there's Hades 2 that's already confirmed from this year. So, if anything, I think right now you're starting to see a lot more smaller indie development studios, which at this point I think we could consider them as AA games because a lot of these indie games that they release, they're actually really polished well. Like these are really good games. That I don't even really want to say that they are indie games, but due to the way how journalism likes to portray and label things, it is considered an indie title. But regardless. But then you have people like From Software, who are in this case a AAA studio from Japan, releasing Elden Ring based on the build-up from all of their Dark Souls titles. And really, it was probably the best way to end the year, or in this case, all the awards that Elden Ring got to. They deserved the award that they got to because a lot of the developers were very passionate about this. And I believe George R.R. Martin was the one that wrote the story for Elden Ring for From Software.
Uh-huh.
So they got him to write at least not the entire story. He kind of helped build the world for them. That was the only thing that he contributed to Elden Ring. And then afterwards too, it was the imagination of Miyazaki, who is the director for building the fantastic title. And then next thing you know, Armored Core 6 comes out and it is actually really fun and cool. So there's that. So if anything too, there's like, it's not impossible for like AAA studios to release like really good, like completed games. And so this really, in this case, points a very bad light to a lot of our American AAA studios. And throw in Ubisoft as well, because Ubisoft is not going to escape us from this one.
Ubisoft
Bastards.
Is the same exact kind of stuff.
Yeah. Bastards. If anything, they ruined Ghost Recon for me. And a lot of the Tom Clancy titles.
Oh, yeah.
Mind you, I might be showing my age then, because I liked, in this case, the older Tom Clancy games. Because I'm not...
Vegas. Rainbow Six Vegas.
Oh my god, yes. That was at least like hard
Those
as
were
fuck.
times. Those were times indeed. Those were the times of all times.
Yeah. And then you look at Vegas, and then you look at their continuation called Rainbow Six Siege. It's like hardly... It's so separated from what it was, too. Like, I don't, in this case, mind at all that it's a good game for a lot of people, too. The gunplay looks fun and whatnot. But I'm just looking at this, I'm like, but unfortunately for me, I can't really get into Siege because of the fact that Rainbow Six in the title with Tom Clancy, I was more or less going at it with a different perspective about it, or different like expectations with that game. And obviously, sure, the game is not for me. Obviously for that. Or it was made obvious for that. If anything, that game was made for like esports scene. When esports was a fucking like moneymaker for a lot of game industries. And we'll talk about that in a separate topic because, oh boy, that's a long like list of shit that, yeah, I'll save that for another topic, for another day, I mean. But really, instead of like right out of me monologuing, if anything, too, how do you all feel about like the state of games now?
Well, the state of AAA games obviously sucks absolute dick.
Yeah.
But, with the rise of indie games and stuff like that, we're at least seeing a lot more creative ideas come out. Maybe they're not like super massive games, but they might be just small, like hour, 2 hour games. But at least they're very creative, and that adds a different dynamic to the industry. I believe, at least,
Yeah.
because this is something different. It's something different you can play. It's not just the same run and gun type of deal that all these big AAA games are doing.
And really, to put the cherry on top too, at least for me, I'm loving like this year of games too. There are like a bunch of doomer gamers too that feel like, oh man, my favorite AAA studio released another shit of a game. This year is the worst year for gaming history ever. And I'm over here at the other side like, hey yo, this shit is awesome. I'm playing Street Fighter this year. Like, I'm happy for what we have too. We have, in this case, things that got released already for 2023. We got Starfield, Final Fantasy 16. If anything, albeit I think it looks cool, some of us here don't really care about it that much. Then you have The Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom. That is also a contender for Game of the Years. Then you have soon coming out Marvel Spider-Man, Assassin's Creed, Mortal Kombat, and many more too. So if anything, this year has been packed with a lot of like high profile games. And really, it's like, hell yeah. I think we're all like so invested into like playing the game that I feel like is like ruining our sense of fun when it comes to why we play games in the beginning. Such as the people that are chronically online when they play either World of Warcraft, League of Legends, Overwatch at this point. Actually, no, Overwatch 2 is practically dead. Ish.
It's so interesting how Overwatch just died.
Yeah.
Did Overwatch even ever existed?
Well, it did when it got released back in like 2014.
Yeah, for like a day.
Okay, Overwatch 2. Here, this was like already bad enough that happened to. Like Overwatch 2 was like, it lost so much of the player base as well because some of them that did return for Overwatch 2, they were already being burned out from like Overwatch 1 because the fact that the esports scene or the competitive scene automatically died because the fact that developers were mishandling the way how they were balancing the game. So there was that. Overwatch 2 promised the fans that they were going to have like a story-based co-op campaign mode for Overwatch 2, because Overwatch had something that a lot of like the Blizzard games did not have for a while, and it was the fact that they had a really compelling and cool story or world that these characters live in. They wanted to see more of that. They want to see more fleshed out. In this case, giving them RPG mechanics, skill trees, and whatnot too. And then next thing you know, as soon as Overwatch 2 got released, oh yeah, no, we're in this case scrapping the story-based games that you guys were initially paying for. And then at this point, it's just like, why the fuck are we getting Overwatch 2 then? Why the fuck do we need to buy it if it's the same thing? Because Overwatch 2 is essentially an updated Overwatch 1.
Yeah, that's kind of scummy. Like,
yeah,
that's kind of scummy. Promising features and then just not deliver it after you release it.
Yeah. And here's the thing that is actually extra scummy too. People that in this case saw was like, okay, I just won't play Overwatch 2. I'll just stay on playing Overwatch 1. Blizzard closed down the servers so that people cannot play Overwatch 1 anymore. They have to play Overwatch 2.
I said it's interesting.
I'm surprised people still buy EA games, bro. They never do anything.
Oh, the way Blizzard. Oh, Blizzard games, yeah.
Oh, Blizzard. My bad, Blizzard. Either way. No, I mean these.
Okay, I know I said that like it's interesting how it failed, but after hearing that, I mean like I'm not surprised.
Now, it's like, and now in this case, why am I telling this story then too? Because here's the actual funny as shit thing too, like that happened, like news that build up to it. You hear a lot of times in news of like these the like high like profile developers of these AAA studios just leaving the company mid projects that they're working on. Like I was like, huh, they're leaving the projects. And then next thing you know, you see like the same developer build out his own company, built a game that looks very similar to StarCraft titles. And it's just like, this is an inspiration of, in this case, what we loved about StarCraft. And next thing you know, you look at who's leading the developer. It's an ex-Blizzard employee developer. So really, I'm looking at this with the lens of, I think all these indie developer or indie game companies are in this case made by, in this case, ex-developers of AAA titles because they saw the writings on the wall and they decide, nah, we're piecing the fuck out of here. We're seeing what's happening here. Like, I think it really does showcase a lot too about when you hear like a lot of the, in this case, you don't hear like the CEOs or like the main heads actually like making statements about the state of their games, or in this case, the state of the company in general. Just because we heard in this case a lot of allegations happening towards Blizzard, sexual allegations, it becoming seeming like a frat house, and there's all these such that I was like, no fucking wonder they have all this. It's essentially a bunch of fucking nerds put in one room, and they are riding off with the idea or the prestige title of Blizzard. So it's like one of those things. It's like it's shit like this was bound to happen. Obviously, it didn't have to, but you know, this happened for Blizzard. And this also was probably the reason why a lot of developers kind of just left there, just because it was toxic. And also, if anything, they did deny the story too that there was someone that was stealing like breast milk from like Blizzard's like whatever it's called too. It's primarily there because some of the developers, their female workers were in this case mothers too, and they had to like bring their kids to work to help watch over them. And there was the allegations that some person in the company was stealing breast milk. Apparently that's not true, but at the same time, it was everybody unanimously thought about this, and it's like, yeah, we can see this happening. Nobody denied that fact. Nobody at least challenged it.
Denied it.
Yeah, nobody challenged it. And if anything, people did say too that like, or someone that came up and said this was not true that it happened. But it was still sad enough to hear that you have like all these people, all these things that happened at Blizzard that some people will just say accept it. It's like, yeah, this would sound like this. Blizzard did it. Like this is right now the current state of like, this is probably for like one example too. This is probably from all AAA studios down the line too. God, I also hate the fact that Ubisoft is also like terrible at customer handling.
It feels like a lot of AAA industry or companies are just like that.
Yeah.
Feels like all of them are terrible.
I wonder why. All of it is to that one, shareholders are expected of like these game companies to make increasing cost of profit every year. Or in this case, their increase of profit every year.
My issue is that isn't the problem. Of course, as an investor, you should be expecting profit. But how do you make profit?
Yeah,
that's the question. You know, like, and the answer should be making good games that a lot of people want to play. Like, where does the money come from? They come from the customers you sell your games to. If you make a shitty game, how do you expect to sell it?
Yeah, and that's why a lot of other players are
That's such
like
a bizarre thinking, bro. That is the absolutely most bizarre thinking. Everyone keeps blaming investors have to do this, this, and that. Everyone keeps blaming investors for like wanting a profit. That's not the problem. It's the problem of the CEO and the upper management who puts profit over everything else because of these shareholders. But, you know, how do you make a profit?
Yeah. And then that's why there's also like the growing sentiment too that like all these games that are being thrown out by AAA companies too, whenever they play the game too, it's just like it's not fun for them because of the fact that it's like the game is telling you that you have to spend more money, and then nobody wants to do that. It's just like, I fucking bought this game. Why am I being told to spend more money? who the hell is this made for? And it turns out
It's
like for
really
EA's
ridiculous.
case,
It's
for
really
EA's
ridiculous.
yeah. And for like EA's case too, you literally have people that will just straight up buy like sports titles and sports games every year. I'm like, God damn. I'm pretty sure these people suffer from Stockholm syndrome. I don't know. Maybe that might have been a hot take there.
That, or it's like they legitimately will only buy one game a year, and it's just so happenly the same sports game.
Yeah, and it's like, do y'all not diversify your list or some shit? I don't know. Maybe that's just me coming at it because I was never really that big into sports to begin with, too. So I never really saw that much of appeal of a sports title unless you're talking about NFL Streets.
Yeah, sports titles, bro. I buy one like once every few years. I don't buy it every single year because there's no point. Because every few years it's mostly the same game, and then there's some like big graphic update.
Yeah,
A couple years down the line, that's when I get a new one. I don't know why you keep playing the same game over and over. It's really weird. Or buying the same game over and over. It's really odd to me.
Yeah, playing the same game over and over is already fine enough. Anyways, you have people that are, in this case, I say this chronically online when playing World of Warcraft. That game itself is already going down the crapshoot, apparently.
Yeah. Playing the same game over and over is not the problem. Buying the same game over and over is the problem.
Yeah, and this is also like the reason why like microtransaction became more prevalent in a lot of AAA titles, because there are people that are actually spending money on those things, and you're like, why? That's like coming back from like me from like 2010. Like, why are people doing this too? And it's obvious as well as that like it's designed that way because people who have FOMO. I think that's the other like really bad thing that I think us as players really need to like tighten down on, or just like outright we have to change ourselves to not feel FOMO about playing games.
What is the FOMO? I don't understand, bro. Like, just if you play it, play. If you can play it, play it. If you don't, just don't. Like,
yeah, it's
why do you have to have FOMO for? Why do you need to have FOMO when it comes to games? I don't get it.
I don't either, but apparently it's there too, because there are people that actually do suffer this too, and I'm like, how? Why? It's just like apparently the way how games are structured nowadays, dude. Most of the time, I don't think I like a lot of some of the new games still too, because of like it still being like primarily made to just be multiplayer. Like you constantly have to play online. You have to like be paired up with other people, and then you see all these other people with like cool shit, and you're like, oh shit, how do I get that? And you see, oh, it's in the store. Oh, For me, I was just like, I'm not gonna go bother with that shit then. So I'll just go vanilla. But then there will be that one person that becomes like, oh, but I really want that cool stuff, and they cave in and get it. So if anything, it's like, bottom line, we can only blame developers on that. Microtransaction could easily be removed if people could stop buying from them. But I digress. We're still here.
Yeah, no, I mean, when it comes to microtransactions and developers offering it, here's my take on it. Some of it is very, very scummy, like those loot boxes and stuff. That I understand needs to be removed. I mean,
that's essentially gambling.
You're betting a lot. Yeah, it is gambling. You're betting a lot of money to get something you maybe will get.
Yeah.
Or maybe not. So that's scummy. I completely 100% agree that should be removed. But when it comes to other microtransactions, like let's say skins or new weapons or new items, whatever, what have you, I think that's okay. I think those microtransactions are okay, because in the end, it's not necessary
to at least enjoy the game.
Have in game. It's not necessary for you to enjoy, but I do get that some companies do make it where you have to buy these items in order to play the game better or something. I don't know.
Or to experience the game fully.
That I understand should also that practice I understand should also be looked into.
Because that's a lot of paradox. One of my big games I like to play is Stellaris. And I pretty much have a majority of their DLCs, I'm not gonna lie. But I've seen what it looks like to have like not have them, and while they let you dip your toes into the DLC, they do it in such a way where it feels like I don't know, it feels kind of worthless. Like it feels like it's restricted just enough to be like, but I want to do this, so I guess I'll pay the money for it because otherwise it's just not worth it.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. And
But
if anything, you can
here's
talk
here's
about.
the thing. Let me continue real quick.
All right.
So, so I even though they have these microtransactions, even though they offer all of these like additional add-ons, it is still I still have the deep down belief that it is still up to you to buy it or not.
Yeah. Like,
That
I
is your
agree.
decision to make. I
Yeah.
think that'll be a hot take. I do believe that's a hot take. It is absolutely 100% your choice to make whether or not you want to buy the add-on or not.
Hmm. Because,
So
like,
you
again,
can't. I don't believe you should blame developers
yeah.
for offering a product because they're offering. They're not forcing you to buy it. For the most part, there are some cases there are. I get that, but for the most part, they're not forcing you to buy it. You still have
Yeah.
the choice to
Yeah.
buy it or not.
Yeah, same thing with, in this case, battle passes. I was at least on the fence about that too, but then after really much considerable thinking, honestly, it is okay, just because of the fact that at least for the battle pass, you can still choose to like have it or not. But at least the other issue I have with it too is that, like, I think in this case, games like, I believe Genshin did it a lot better too, where like all the things that you could buy too, they at least give you a dollar. Actually, they do give you some dollar amount too, but then there's also in-game currency. Never mind, I take that back. But really, I really do wish that at least the one thing I'll side with the players for this one too, Victor, is that they need to just get rid of like the in-game currency for the stores, or store in-game,
Oh
or
yeah,
store
yeah.
currencies. Remove
100%.
that shit.
I mean, it's also it's a psychological effect by having credits or an in-game currency of some sort.
Mhm.
It's all psychological because you don't immediately tie it to the dollar amount. Once you buy it, you just know that in-game currency amount. You don't know the dollar amount that was tied to it,
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
or you don't think about it that way. So
Yeah.
you're more inclined to spend more because of the disassociation with how much you actually paid for it.
Yeah. And so that is, at least for the players against the developers, that's, I think, what we should push on further, is the fact that we don't want like store currency anymore. Just literally tell us how much this thing cost. Yeah. Because like we already know like how much things cost too when we buy like other DLCs and expansions. Like, that's something that you can't actually like gate that behind like store currency or like store credit. God damn it. I don't want to give them ideas for them to do that shit. Imagine something that like, oh look, the expansion pass for this game, you could buy it with the in-store currency that in this case roughly costs like around $60, but in the store we only have a $50 store credit or a $70 store credit. Hope you do.
You
So
gotta buy $100 in-game currency to buy the DLC.
yeah, it's, oh my god, don't give them ideas, Victor. They'll most definitely do
That's
that
all right.
shit.
They already have ideas. I brought up that point already.
Yeah, god damn. This is also the, again, reason why Baldur's Gate 3 is actually succeeding so well, is because the fact that there is no like store, like microtransaction store to begin with. Only because, like, again, based on the developers that worked on Baldur's Gate 3, they literally just said too, like, there's no reason that the game should have like a in-game store or microtransaction. It's not really necessary or needed. Which, really, based on that comment too, how do you guys feel about that?
That's perfectly fine. I mean, like, what's the issue? If they don't
Yeah.
have an in-game store, that's on them. Like, that's their decision.
Yeah. And
But
there's a
at the same
sorry, go
time,
ahead.
it's like I said, there's a. I mean, yeah. I mean, actually, never mind. I don't see a problem with it. I mean,
Yeah.
there should be no complaint that they don't have an in-game or is it in-game store.
Yeah. Although a lot of developers are saying that too. It's like, oh, but how's the game supposed to survive that long if it doesn't have like ways for it to like keep generating money? I'm like, I mean, that's not their focus here. Clearly, they stated that.
Mm-hmm.
Like their focus is not the fact
But
that
that's
they're trying to work on it.
Okay. I mean, I understand. I understand them siding with the players. Their focus is not, I guess, the money, but that's kind of wrong since
it's kind of wrong to, because obviously they are still trying to make money off of this. They, in this case, did make money. Oh shoot, hold on, Michael apparently left.
Michael DC'd. No, he
Okay.
DC'd. Welcome back, bro.
Hello. No, Michael, where'd you go?
All right, well, we'll let him sort it out. I gotta get this out.
All right, go for it.
They are in business. They have to make money because if they don't make money, they go out of business and they can't make good games anymore. I do not believe that is a genuine idea that they have, that the money doesn't matter.
Yeah.
People would love to say that money doesn't matter. That is truly not the case.
That's wishful thinking for the most part.
Very, very. But if they're able to make a game that sells a lot and then covers all their expenses and they're able to make a profit out of it, then yeah.
Shit, why not?
Yeah, exactly. Like if you make a good game, you'll make a lot of money. That's the way I think about it. You want to make a game that people actually want to play, you'll make a lot of money. So them saying money isn't the focus is true during development, but at the same time, you also have to think about it. Like you can't just say money isn't like, or the money shouldn't be a focus point, but it should be a thought that you have.
Yeah.
Because without it, you're not able to continue making more games, or just to continue running your business. Really.
Hello.
Yeah. Hello. Welcome back.
Okay.
There. Well, he has some tech issues on his side, but really, well, shit. Well, if anything, did you catch anything that we were saying, Michael?
Nothing.
Well, as of right now, the microtransaction stuff and whatnot too, how Larian Studios has said too that there's no really good, they don't have a reason why they should add microtransaction to the game. As in this case, a lot of developers are attacking the idea that they're trying to criticize how will Baldur's Gate 3 actually sustain themselves or make money in the long run. And others have defended for Larian, say that like, because if anything, it's at this point it's not even about the money here, which if anything, Victor makes a counter argument that like if anything, Larian does care about money. It's just the fact too that microtransactions is not going to be their method of how they're going to make money.
I think the want to release a quality game was stronger than the currency. I think they knew that if they released a really strong game, that the money would come in. And they weren't wrong.
That's exactly what I'm saying. Like, you just got to make a good product that a lot of people want, and then you'll just make a lot of money because a lot of people want it.
Yeah. Or if anything too, you kind of just
here's the thing. I think Larian here wants to sell volume. They're not concerned about the game's longevity. Like essentially, this is not a live service game, so that's not a concern for them. Like longevity, the longevity of the game isn't a concern because they're not a live service game. They're not an MMO. They're just an RPG game with co-op.
Yeah, which if anything, the co-op is fun as hell.
So I mean, I guess money over the long term isn't their concern, like some other companies which run live service games. The ones that run live service games will be concerned about money because yes, server up cost and developer up cost because they got to keep fixing bugs, improving, and all that stuff. Yes, that they are definitely concerned about money. But Larian, once you make a good game, good product, release it out there, make a ton of money, you take that money and do something else with it, like make a new game project of some sort. I don't know, but yeah. See, so Larian's focus was make a good game that a lot of people buy, so sell by volume.
Yeah,
they're not a live service game, so they're not concerned about the longevity of the game.
Now, there's is also another argument from from other developers saying that Larian, or at least Baldur's Gate 3, they call it an anomaly due to the fact too that like the game itself had like an outstanding amount of like support for like the release up to the project title, whether it be early access or the fact that Dungeons and Dragons became more popular within the past few years because of like other TV shows like Stranger Things. And hell, they even got them in a Dungeons and Dragons movie, which was actually pretty fucking good.
Now, here's my thing. Here's my thing about it. Just because they're following in the footsteps of a successful IP, in this case Dungeons and Dragons, that does not necessarily mean Larian would have made a good game.
Yeah. Because
this is just taken as this is just an example, hypothetical example. I mean,
yeah,
just because they're making a D&D game does not mean their game would be good.
Or if anything, any title based off like other IPs would be good. Hell, we even saw this shit growing up too, back in the 2000s. Remember the Spider-Man games of the 2000s? Man, that shit was scuffed as hell.
Booty Man?
Yeah, like there was a bunch of Spider-Man games that came with it too. Albeit it's just like it felt like in this case the game was primarily only made because they were trying to make money off of this case successful like media titles. Obviously, that's what the purpose of these games were. But nowadays too, a lot of like movie titled like or movie IP games are actually doing really well, like Insomniac Spider-Man games. Those are hella fun. Now, like what Victor says too, just because there's like they're following the coattails of, or in this case they're getting in this case traction from like things that were leading up to or building up to the release of the game, does not really say that it's successful or not. But in this case, what made it successful is that just by watching the gameplay from other people's view and whatnot too, you could definitely see like the developers put a lot of heart and passion into making this game. Like there's like a key differences of like some game titles that a lot of times people are just like they just kind of just wanted to release it and so that they could grab more money from people that in this case will eventually buy, versus something that came out like Baldur's Gate 3 or Elden Ring that just look exceptionally better, and a lot of like the smaller details are well thought of. Like in this case, it's in this case studios that respect players for the time, versus in this case AAA studios, it's not the fact that they're not respecting you of your time. They're just only seeing you as a cash money. They're only seeing you as a cash cow. There is a difference. Studios make better games if they treat players as players versus studios only seeing like money dollar signs.
But that's just the general rule of business.
Mm-hmm.
People who focus on the product will make a better product.
Yeah.
People who focus on the product and the customers will eventually make a better product. Companies that only focus on the money will make a subpar product or any product that they can to just push it out to the market.
Yeah. If anything, you could really say too that short-term wise, yeah, this works in some ways, but obviously you're going to lose a lot of your customer base too, and you're just going to be phased out of the market. Just because you're no longer filling the demand of what these customers want, which is apparently happening to a lot of things too. There was even like the Saints Row game that came out too, which was the remake. Nobody liked it. Nobody asked for the Saints Row game. And they were like hard pushing it with all the marketing. It's like, this is the best thing that ever happened with the awesome remake. And we're genderly exclusive or genderly inclusive. I'm like, I don't think people were asking about that. Neither did we want another Saints Row game.
I think the best Saints Row was Saints Row 2.
I agree. I agree. But yeah,
everything else was just whack.
Yeah, and it came to the point too, due to the like how poorly that game got released to, it did so bad too. It actually like dissolved a company because, or they've made a company or a developer go bankrupt because of how bad the game did.
That's how it should be for these AAA companies, 100%. In my honest opinion, like if they're just gonna keep money grabbing and just milking everybody out of their money, people should just stop buying their games and they should go bankrupt, or they should stop buying their games. And if the companies are smart enough, they'll finally turn around and actually use the resources to their advantage and use the resources properly to make a good game.
Yeah. If anything, you also kind of had to figure out, like, for Blizzard's case, weed out all the other terrible developers. Because here's also the case that, or someone that I listened to, they mentioned this, like, very interesting about, like, let's say World of Warcraft, which is at this point a AAA game made by a AAA company. But as of lately, it's just not feasible anymore to keep on playing because it's also hard as hell. And also World of Warcraft is just losing like more players now because to the point they're not refreshing, in this case, new players at all, because new players can't even get into the game anymore. All because of the fact that it's actually fucking difficult now. Because the current, like, what's happening inside of World of Warcraft is the fact that in order for you to actually experience and actually have a fun time playing the game, you have to install, I believe it was like around 70 plus plugins for like specific raid bosses. And if anything, you tell like someone that's new to this, they got to the level where they could just by straight playing the game normally. And it's like, oh, this is fun. Oh, I get to do all these other cool content. And you're like, man, this is hard. How do you guys actually fight this? And then they tell you, and it's just like, what the fuck? And also the bosses become exceptionally hard as well, even to veteran players, to the point where they're just like, fuck it, I don't want to deal with this no more. And they kind of just dip out. And it's like the problem is the fact that a lot of the developers in Blizzard is like, they are, in this case, they love the game too, but sometimes they love the game too much that for them to say like, this is how we think the game should be played, or in this case, they just make the game exceptionally more harder because that's how much they like to play their game. That is the difference here. A lot of developers are not really like placating to like making sure like, how do we get new players to come in? Which, if anything, a lot of people says too, like, oh, all these AAA companies are like trying to dive in and try to get the normal audience to like play their games. And I'm like, that's how you're going to get more people to play your game. And if anything, this is me speaking from experience when playing fighting games too. Every time I hear like, oh man, this new fighting game title, they're making controls so much more simpler so that new players can like come pick it up, it's just going to ruin the game too. I was like, dog, how else are we going to get more people to play the game?
Geo.
Because like if you end up doing that, you are, in this case, are gatekeeping. You are the problem of like why there are certain games that just can't grow their player base. Like it's those types of people with the mindset too. They're like, oh, we can't like appease to like the casual audience. That's what it's called, not normal, the casual audience. No, and here's the other thing about it too. The casual audience can choose whether or not they can do it too. I still believe too that developers should still make a game that like is approachable for any new players to come in to play the game. But I digress. Maybe this is just me like being like the outlier, say that I think there's not really a problem for developers to like actually cater to newer people, at least for me.
They should, I mean, what developers should do is just make the game in their image, how the game should play out in their eyes. And if people like it or not, I mean, that's, people like it or they don't.
Yeah.
You know? Like, or you, and then if people don't like it, you can make gradual improvements and gradual changes and then just go from there. I mean, like, I don't know, man. Sometimes I just don't understand anybody's thinking in this.
Yeah. Like if anything too,
day and age.
Yeah, it's like the other journalistic piece too that like someone said that like Elden Ring or like any From Software games, like all these Souls titles need to have like an easy mode. Even though Miyazaki's mission statement was literally this, he will never do that too because he wants to, in this case, give the players the ability to show off their skills.
To overcome the challenge.
Yeah. That is his mission statement. There's not a reason why they should make an easy mode. I think you have Final Fantasy 16 says, oh my god, the game has like a ridiculously too easy mode, which is called game journalism mode.
Yeah.
My god.
So it's like literally it's because you can play Final Fantasy 16 with the button scheme that you just hold down one button. That's it. Like there was someone that live streamed that too, and they were just pressing like one button only, and they were eating a sandwich in the other hand.
What's the point? You're not even playing.
Yeah, I mean, it's if anything, it's just there. It's like you could use that option if you need to. Then there's like the most ridiculous option of like hard difficulty where it's like you have full control of your main character, parry timings. You don't even get the visual indicators anymore. You just got to read the movement. Like it's like the ranges from that too. So it's like a lot of times people really don't know what the fuck they want out of games anymore. There's that as well.
They do not. They do not. I agree. They do not.
Like, let's be honest, dude. A lot of people are like expecting like the greatest game ever, but at the same time, they themselves don't know what that is either. If anything, I think it's fine anyways that like if you're cynical about games, that's perfectly fine. But also don't be bullshit about it too. Or don't be lying to yourself about this as well. Like saying that you want like the greatest game too. World of Warcraft should be the top game in the year. I was like, okay, cool, but like what are you guys doing to like help make sure that your game stays alive long enough? Oh, we got to make sure that we placate to the top 1% of the player base. Okay, sure. And what about the other 99%? Yeah, exactly. It's like that top 1% is probably like 32 players, maybe.
Yeah. Yeah.
Let's be honest, the game is already dead to begin with, at least in my eyes. Now, if anything, it feels bad too because I have families that work on like AAA titles too, and they actually like said too like the recent WoW expansion had like a lot of praises for the fact that like the animation looks really nice and clean, and it was actually really fun content. So I feel bad right now that it's doing this poorly right now, and that all the other developers that are still with these companies, they're just kind of like taking the brunt end of like people's criticism when obviously it wasn't their decision to begin with. Some of the decision was there to begin with.
Yeah.
Now, right. So right now, this will be like not really a closing statement, but this will probably like bring this all together too. Baldur's Gate 3, Elden Ring, Armored Core 6, Final Fantasy 16, and Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom. These are in this case will be my top pick about like the games that will be running for Game of the Year besides Elden Ring. Elden Ring has already won that part. Those, I believe in this case, a lot of people really need to say to like, this is the standard of games where they should be at. And any other developers that say that, we can't make it to the same quality of level as that too. We're not asking you to like build another Baldur's Gate 3 or have the same quality as that. They just need you to release them a completed game. That is all that we're asking.
And fun game.
Yeah, completed and fun game.
Fun game.
Yeah, and also because
that's
like
the thing though. See, when you release the same game over and over, I mean, I don't know if you know. I don't know if they know this, but it starts to not get fun over time.
Yeah. Look what happened to literally the Call of Duty fan base too. Everybody is moving into playing Tarkov. Like that's currently the wild like shift that's been happening right now too. That all like the fans that were playing like these games for the long run, and unfortunately too, Halo Infinite, they kind of just left the games and start playing other things because obviously we have literally an open sea market of like games that are fun to play for them at least. That at this point right now, it's just unfortunate that again, the games are just no longer fun. But obviously, vice versa, everything else has become way more fun now too. Because of the fact that we're no longer, everyone has started to break away to part two that they don't have to keep supporting or playing this game if it's not fun for them anymore. A lot of them start to realize the own like potential, like in this case, their customer power that they have over companies. Such as the fact that, hey, if the game's not fun, I won't play it. Easy. Anything else that you guys want to add to that or anything against it?
I don't know, just make a fun game. I don't know. Just do it. You want to make money, make a fun game.
I think gamers should expect higher quality things and stop just submitting to like lower tier games because it's, I don't know, I just don't get it.
I feel like the market of any product has come to a point where companies just start blaming consumers for not buying their product. It's very bizarre. It's a very
Yeah.
bizarre switch that's happened.
Yeah. And
I mean, what like what they make a shitty product and they say the customers don't know anything or something stupid like that.
Yeah.
it's like, I was like, all right, cool. You say that about customers. That means you didn't respect us at the beginning. All right, we'll just take our money elsewhere.
Yeah, bro, it's ridiculous. Like, why are you blaming consumers? They're the ones that are giving you the money.
Yeah,
You're
because
making
this.
a product for them. If they're not wanting to buy it, you didn't
Mhm.
make the product they wanted.
Yeah, it's like
That's
literally
exactly
simple as
what's
that.
going on with these AAA. This is exactly what's going on with these AAA games, with these AAA game studios. I
Yeah.
mean, while they are just bashing on other studios, they're indirectly saying that they don't know anything.
Yeah.
Consumers are too stupid to be able to consume properly.
Apparently,
They should
It's
buy
just-
our shitty product, not theirs.
I was like, and then they turn on. Wait, where did everybody go? Yeah, everybody just left. And then in this case, oh, but I thought people were waiting for like Starfield. I mean, if anything, they found a better
Star
game
who?
called No Man's Sky. They found a better game called No Man's Sky. For people that in this case want to know the difference, if they want to get Starfield, just buy No Man's Sky.
Starfield come out to be like really bad.
No, it's not bad. It's actually quite decent, albeit a lot of crashes that happen every now and then. Kind of expected from a Bethesda title, but at least it's a little bit better than the previous titles. Albeit the previous title that they released was Fallout 76.
Not much
Yeah.
of a bar there.
Yeah, there was no bar to begin with. They kind of just dug themselves a hole there, and they just want us to ignore and
alright.
move on from
the
that.
bar got nuked.
Yeah,
The bar was buried.
yeah, the bar was buried.
nuked, and then they fell in the hole that the nuke can make.
Yeah,
The bar was in a vault. Vault 70s.
Vault 76. Yeah.
yeah. But yeah, this is pretty much how it is, dude. Like, a lot of people are becoming like really much self-aware of the fact that, like, again, the gaming market has been diversified so much to the point to like I was also kind of like feeling like in this case the burnout of like, oh god, like all these new games, but none of them really like were fun per se, at least in my eyes. And then I kind of had to like really just take a moment back and just say like, maybe I'll just wait it out for a year. There's no issue about like if there's no games that you like this year too, you don't have to buy anything. That's more money saved on yourself.
Very.
Yeah.
Also, I feel like there's a whole bunch of games that people already own that are far better quality than the ones currently being released. So you can just go back and play the old ones.
Yeah, like literally, if you want to play, open up Type of the Dead.
Type of the Dead.
Yeah, it's literally like House of the Dead too, but then your gun shooting is just word or keywords. You're typing on your keyboard. Literally, there's that too. Hell, we're even.
Ultra
I don't know if any of you guys. Hold on, you guys feel like getting like Payday 3 when it drops?
Nope.
All right, fair
I
enough.
would. But that's because I
There.
love Payday 2.
Yeah, same here. So anyone out there too, hell yes, Payday 3, we're getting it soon.
The only game that can take up 300 gigs on my hard drive is Ark.
Oh god. I refuse to play that game. I refuse to play that game.
I love
just
that
because
game.
it's just for the sole reason of like the game looks alright too. Why the fuck does it take this much?
Why
Are
not?
they like uncompressed? They have everything uncompressed, so you just get the raw files.
Yeah, download it, you just get dicked on. But albeit, I feel like that if anything, we did cover a lot about like this is like the current state of like why people have like takes to where like the arguments are coming from whenever they hear like Baldur's Gate 3, how in this case a lot more players are in this case. It's not the fact that they're like really loving Baldur's Gate 3. We're just loving the idea that there is actually a studio or more studios out there that are releasing feature completed games. I think that's literally the biggest takeaway from all this too, that there's at least studios that care about games.
Yeah, it's
Care about the
not
games
dead
and the
yet,
player.
gents. the game industry isn't dead yet.
Yeah.
No, it will
Game-
never die, especially with the rise of indie games.
Yeah, Rise of Indie Games too. Hell, Phasmophobia when it came out too. It was made by one person, but it was also the best-selling horror game as well.
Oh yeah. The market
Like,
didn't know it wanted a ghost game, and then it got it, and they loved
Yeah,
it.
yeah.
Mhm.
Like, I'll be honest too. Yeah, to all the doomers out there too, keep coping. We're out here
Keep
living.
dooming, guys. Keep dooming, guys.
You're really doing.
Time to weed out all the
Oh.
out all the real gamers.
Yeah, time to weed out the weak-willed men and women. I guess we're inclusive here.
Time to weed out anybody. I don't
Yeah.
care.
No,
Time
fair
to weed
enough.
out all these fake ass gamers.
Yeah, goddamn. Well, I think right now we're almost about to draw to a close here. Is there any last-minute statements that you guys want to throw in there?
Stop buying games from AAA companies.
Yeah,
Goddamn.
that's about what I would say too. Or at
Yeah.
least wait for them to fix their stuff before you go ahead and buy it. Don't buy it
Yeah.
and then hope they'll fix it.
Yeah.
Yeah, don't buy it, then get that day one 130 gig patch and then
Yeah.
Goddamn. I forgot that happened for
Day
Call
one
of Duty.
patches, bro.
Like, Jesus.
Day one patches are insane, bro.
I'm like, day one, why not just like postpone the release date until you patch that shit?
Or why not put that all into the game and then release it?
Yeah, that too. I don't know.
Why is it day one? Why does day one patches exist, bro? Why? Like you can literally just add it in. Clearly, you've already developed it, tested it, and made sure that it worked before releasing it. So why not just put it all into the game the day before and then release it the next day?
Yeah. God damn.
They got to release it on Friday. That's why. Wait, what what day do games typically get released? Is it like Tuesday or
I'm-
Fridays?
Tuesdays.
Mostly
Nice,
Tuesdays.
okay.
I don't know why
Movies are
they made that.
Fridays, games are Tuesdays.
Okay. Well, yeah.
Who
then there you
decided
go.
that? I have no idea. I think that was like a
Doesn't
unspoken
matter,
rule.
just-
Just release it on Wednesday.
This is why as an indie developer you just release whenever you want. Doesn't matter. No
Yeah.
one cares.
But yeah,
Why
that's our
Tu-
close.
Now I'm curious on the reason
What's up?
why it's a Tuesday. A Friday makes sense for movies. A Tuesday does not for games. I don't get that.
Who knows, honestly?
know.
Who fucking knows?
I
But
feel like it should have just been a Monday. That was the only next best. That's-
oh man, we talk a lot about
Maybe
it.
they release on a Tuesday because then people are at work the next day and then they can release that day one patch.
Yeah. Let's see. But yeah, if anything, we talk a lot about in this case, like custom, like people being more like in this case using their financial powers to like persuade like a lot of people and whatnot too. I think that would just be our next week's topic too. Financial literacy. God damn.
what?
Just finance in general, financial literacy and finance in general.
Yeah.
We're not
because we talk-
financial advisors, guys, but
we
buy
gotta
my
take our
Bitcoin.
finance
advice.
finance is a part of all of our lives, so there's something we have to definitely talk about.
Oh yeah. This will. We'll make sure to like try
Don't
to.
buy Brian's Bitcoin.
Man, why not? Anyways, we'll see you guys next week too. We might actually bring someone on. Who knows? Anyways, catch y'all next time.
See ya.